the fifth. You want the truth, how quaint, how sweet. Slide me a question, I slide my seat. Did I see him? Was it a grift? I fix my glove and I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. Oh, honey, bud my lip. Zip, zip, zip. Woo! If talk is trouble, I won't buy a bit. On your high and mighty outfit, I plead the fifth. Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
Watch me drift. Blow a kiss and plead the fifth.
So, welcome to the show, everybody. I gotta simmer down. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Mic is on. All is well. You can hear me. My voice probably sounds a little tighter than usual. I've been singing for the last 3 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. Whew. I don't even have rough vocals on this one song, and I just had to track them, and so I set up my whole microphone setup that's over here just to basically right out of frame, and tracked a bunch of vocals on a new song, and I'm I'm happy with it. It's gonna need some work. I've got to do some of the little nitpicking around the edges, but I'm looking very toit like a tiger. Thank you very much. Happy Motang Monday to you as well. Some boogie music? Yes. No. Actually, that was an idea I had earlier today when, quite frankly, welcome to the show, when this happened. When the Republicans, interestingly enough, they seem to be confused about this whole well, she told Todd Blanche some stuff. You mean when they controlled the actual transcript and they didn't release the recording and you couldn't be present? Gee, I guess she must have spilled the beans then, dipshit. We've been dealing with Comer and Comer for quite some time. And I got to tell you, I almost feel, I'll show you in this, but I almost feel bad for the Republicans that have to stand behind him. Giving ground, like this asshole is actually in charge of something. Can you, how fucking embarrassing that would be? Here you go.
Comer's on his way.
And here it is.
Everybody ready? Everybody ready?
Like those two dudes. Is that Andy Biggs or whoever? And then this dude. I would be embarrassed to be them. What he said about the dumbest motherfucker in Congress. Just embarrassing.
As expected, Maxwell took the fifth.
Uh-huh. Maybe that's what Trump meant when he wished her well. That was code for you should plead the fifth.
And refused to answer any questions. This is obviously very disappointing. We had many questions to ask about the crimes she and Epstein committed, as well as questions about potential co-conspirators.
Really, you didn't think to call the White House and ask? I'm just saying they're in on it. Yeah.
Sincerely want to get to the truth of the American people and justice for the survivors. That's what this investigation is about.
It totally is. That's why you're bringing in Bill Clinton, who isn't president right now, and his wife, who only showed up in news articles in the Epstein files. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was his fucking wingman.
I want to mention the next steps. We can confirm we have 5 more depositions in the book scheduled
In private.
for the Epstein investigation. On February 18th, Lex Wexner, who is a financial client of Epstein and I believe the former CEO of Victoria's Secret.
Does he have any business dealings with Donald Trump? Maybe you should look that up. Yeah.
February 26th, we have former Secretary of State Hillary.
Hold on. Let me see if, because I think, let's see. Let me go back, add a little thing there. Core weave, there we go. Yeah. Oh, Finch. Ohio's most revered entrepreneur, Les Wexner, stepped down as chairman of L Brands, but soon began to sell off his stake in Victoria's Secret. Convicted sex offender. Many believe that Wexner, age 82, would quietly retire. Instead, the fashion mogul has more than doubled his fortune thanks to a large part some savvy bets on technology over the past 3 months. The mogul's net worth, which includes assets held in his children's and wife Abigail's names, has soared $10.1 billion from $7.9. The biggest driver of this increase is a 4% stake in CoreWeave. Whoops, let me slow this down here. Thank you. Biggest driver of this increase, 4% stake in CoreWeave, one of the busiest artificial intelligence companies around. On Monday, CoreWeave announced that it is buying crypto miner Core Scientific in a roughly $9 billion all-stock deal. CoreWeave's market capitalization has almost tripled since its March IPO at $73 billion today, and Wexner's stake is now worth $2.8 billion. Forbes previously reported on how Wexner scored his stake in CoreWeave, which was founded in Livingston, New Jersey in 2017, thanks to a smart investment by Wexner's money manager at the time, a trust established for the benefit of his 4 children. Apparently investing $1 million in CoreWeave in 2019 put another $600,000 in the startup Series A funding. His shares are currently worth $730 million, or when they went public. 8-year-old CoreWeave helps companies build data centers and loans out cloud access to much sought-after graphics processing units or GPUs, with firms like Microsoft, IBM, and Meta pay to use to build AI models. This is the same model as Larry Ellison is using with Oracle, and basically turning their cloud services into AI data processing centers. It's like turning your farmland into a parking lot. Reported net loss $350 million. Nonetheless, CoreWeave's valuation continues to shoot up. Forbes discovered Wexner's family stake in CoreWeave in a lawsuit filed by the wealth management firm Florence Capital Advisors. In the lawsuit, Florence Capital claimed they were owed nearly $7 million for advising Wexner's family trust to invest in CoreWeave in its early days. A representative for the trust responded to the counterclaim that accused the wealth manager of fraudulent conduct. It seems like such a swell fella. And he's in J.D. Vance's state. So, yeah, he's going to be coming in to talk. He's 80 some odd.
Clinton, February 27th, former President Bill Clinton. March 11th, Richard Kahn, Epstein's accountant. And March 19th, Darren Endike, Epstein's lawyer. So we will.
So nothing from Trump's circle. Maybe Allison Lutnick. Maybe fucking Nutlick himself. Maybe Trump. Maybe they all come in. What do you think?
Continue to move forward and try to get answers for the American people.
Britain's royal family. Do you think that Britain's royal family has questions to answer to your committee?
Well, we would love.
What? We fought a war so we don't have to give a fuck about royals. Go pound sand with your magic family.
To hear, from anyone. Obviously, I can't subpoena in foreign countries, or I would have done that in the Biden investigation. But do you have anything to add, Andy?
I'll just add one thing that the attorney for Ms. Maxwell said that she has no indication and would say that neither Presidents Trump or Clinton are culpable for any wrongdoing. And that's one thing they said in his opening statement to us today.
But if you ask her a follow-up, she's pleading the fifth. Fuck you.
Maxwell put under pressure to stay silent?
What's that?
Was Ghislaine Maxwell put under pressure to stay silent today?
Well, I have no idea.
Who would have, I don't know, winked and nodded at her, maybe moved her to a new prison where it's easier to break out of and into. Certainly not some sort of like maximum security tower in downtown New York.
How would I have no idea. I mean, she was given an opportunity. We would have brought her in months ago, but she's indicated she was going to plead the fifth. And unfortunately, she had an opportunity today to answer questions that every American has, questions that would be very important in this investigation, and she chose to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights.
Mr. Chairman, clarify what her lawyer said about President Trump and Clinton, and do you think that there's anything more to do with Ghislaine Maxwell now that she pled the fifth?
What correct me if I'm wrong. Just to be clear.
I'm going to guess, Andy, stand by. You're going to stand back and stand by. You're going to be needed.
What her attorney said, Maxwell didn't say, her attorney said that she would answer questions if she were granted clemency by the president
Trump,
and that she went on to say about Clinton and
but he went on to expand that. The other thing is he pointed out a number of times that she has a habeas corpus petition pending for a new trial and release, and that's why she is not going to answer questions.
All right, why would you ask for clemency and release if you're following through with your habeas corpus petition? I mean, I guess she's just trying all angles. I mean, it's like when a bat gives in your living room, it's going to fly towards every window. Yeah. Fuck that. Hold on, let's see.
Mr. Chairman, I know that those conversations are ongoing. They would like them to be public. Is your understanding still that we're looking at those same February dates and they're going to be private?
yeah, that's what they agreed to, and they will be public, just like this will be public hopefully very soon. We've released every...
No. That's not what public means, fuckhead. Like, this is, oh, God. It's going to be public because we'll make public pieces of it. Get the fuck out of here. Public means public. And this is the reason, interestingly enough, that I don't think they want Bill Clinton to come and testify publicly is because it puts pressure on Trump to do so. The same thing with Hillary, by the way, that Hillary Clinton testifying in public, in front of everybody, puts pressure on Trump and basically gives Democrats the ability to just call him a coward every day between now and the midterms, which they'll be able to do because he's not going to testify.
Transcript and every video and audio of every deposition we've done since I've been chairman of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, does the committee have any plans to subpoena Commerce Secretary
Except this one, by the way, I guess.
Howard Lutnick, given the revelations
We're
about
going to
his
try to
relationship?
get these 5 nailed down. We've got a lot of very important people we're trying to bring in to answer questions. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize the 5 that we have on the...
Why? What? Why would that jeopardize? Why would bringing in other people jeopardize the people you already have? Sorry, are you worried that Les Wexner is gonna be concerned that Nutlick will spill the beans or they will have conflicting testimony? And what difference does it make when you bring him in if everybody's under oath anyways? If Nutlick lies now or in 6 fucking months, what difference does it make?
Look, so we'll see what happens here, and we'll move forward.
Do you have concerns
We're
about...
interested in talking to anyone that might have any information that would help us get justice for the survivors. Yes.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you have the number for the White House switchboard, dipshit?
Chairman, thank you. On your decision, the
Fuck.
agreement with the Clintons about closed-door videotape testimony versus public hearing, are you concerned that this will be enough to restart contempt proceedings, or do you think you'll come to a resolution?
I mean, they said they agreed to a standard deposition. That's what a standard deposition is. Every time I've come out here for a press gaggle.
Chicken shit. No, nobody's buying that. All right, chat room. Is anybody buying that? Do you think maggots are buying that? Maggots. Do we have any maggots in the chat room? We should. Do you buy this? The Clintons want to testify in an open hearing, in public. And Comer's answer is, well, it'll be public because we'll release parts of it. We'll make parts of it public. Is that okay with you? That's okay with you. In the Epstein files, and then it's much better to just talk to people behind closed doors and then leak out little bits. By the way, pieces chosen to be released by Comer and Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. Yeah.
With you all, we've had a standard deposition, so this is how depositions work, and it will be made public. So they.
Look at him fucking strangling that fucking piece of paper. Yeah, it's totally, this is how we normally do things. No, it isn't. You don't normally pull in a former president to talk about a dead guy that died during the current president's term last time and who was really close to him when you're not bringing that motherfucker in.
Want a public deposition, this is what they're going to get.
Yeah, that's not a public deposition, dummy. They want an open hearing. They want to testify in public. There is no reason to depose them.
Chairman, can I ask you about Ilhan Omar for a moment?
Can I ask you a question
Mr. Chairman,
about
your
Ghislaine
investigation
Maxwell?
of thank you. Your investigation about Ilhan Omar. Why are you targeting her when there is a Ilhan Omar? Your committee investigation with Ilhan Omar, when there is a process in the House, if people have questions about their conduct, this would go through the Ethics Committee. Why is this under the jurisdiction?
And I've spoken, I'm glad you asked that question. I've spoken with the...
It's almost like I gave you a signal by throttling my piece of paper that you need to bail me the fuck out of this.
The Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction over members of Congress. The two
Sorry, the gum was for my sore throat. So
businesses in question are owned by Ms. Omar's husband. So the Ethics Committee does not have jurisdiction over a spouse, only a member. So that's why we just asked, we would have questions. I don't think anyone would.
But it would pertain to her overall finances, because that is listed on her financial disclosure report, even though that's her spouse.
We've read.
oh, excuse me. You're asking him detailed questions that involve reality. He's not prepared for that. He's just jacking off the two notes that he took during the Ghislaine Maxwell the fifth.
It's by the Ethics Committee, and we think
A fifth of Maxwell. That's probably what we should call this video, I think. A fifth of Maxwell.
this is the appropriate route. So, and we'll do one more question.
One
Yes.
question on Maxwell.
Just going back to the Clinton deposition, sorry for space. I understand that you're going to release the transcripts, you'll release the video. Of
course.
Why is there reticence to just have it be public since the Clintons, look, they are not your typical people being deposed?
When you say public, what do you mean? I mean, it's going to be.
You know what the fuck she means, dipshit. She means testify in open session. To call the committee and call them as witnesses and ask them live in front of everybody. Not in a fucking room like they're being deposed like criminals. But in person. In front of everyone. With all the... Here, I'll give you one. The fucking Benghazi hearing. Like that. The fuck out of here.
The video, and we'll release it. The public will see every second of the deposition. That's.
But not
I
at
think
the
they're
time
trying
that
to
it
muddy
happens.
And not the questioners. And who's with them. And who's supplying the questions. And controlling the questions. And it won't be equal time.
But not at the time that it happened. So what's the reticence?
But a few seconds later, I mean, I think the Clintons are trying to muddy the waters and create a false narrative, like depositions behind closed doors. That deposition was behind closed doors, but you had at least 10 members of Congress in there, and you'll have the video, I hope, very soon.
What do you mean you hope, motherfucker? You run the committee. Okay, can we just like grab a still of this dickhead and like, here, wait, hold on. I'll do this one and bring this out. Here you go. There you go. There's a hope poster for you. How about that? Although dope is probably better. What a dipshit. Okay, sorry, I'm going to move this over here so I can actually use it sometime. It might actually have some function. I will say, though, this whole, like... Where's the ink? Here we go. This whole, like, throttling his piece of paper right here, this thing, is a little telling.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yes, but go ahead. All right.
Ghislaine Maxwell, we know from the Epstein files, didn't tell the truth. She got moved to an open prison. Now she's asking for clemency to speak at all. Was it a mistake to move her to that prison? Should she be moved back?
I don't know the rationale for moving her from one prison to the other.
The rationale was her life was in danger. Also favors. Also, hold on. What? Let's see. Yeah. Let's see what the storyline is. According to Todd Blanche, if I may, let's do this a little bit. According to Todd Blanche here, he says, let's see. Whoops, let me move her over here. Depending on is anyone meet the press? He said, at the time I met Miss Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity toward her and the institution she was in. She was suffering numerous threats against her life. Ooh, numerous and numerous. Right up there with Dumb and Dumber, there's numerous and numerous. He did not elaborate on the threats because they would be in the record of the prison and it would be easy to check because he's a fucking moron. She might be moved to another institution tomorrow if security requires it, and that's true of any federal inmate across the country. Yeah, no, it isn't, asshole. No, it isn't. And that's, by the way, that's what we heard, that it was threats against her life. And they were non-specific threats because specific threats would be logged with the warden and with the whoever was running her particular cell, or the communication between her and wherever these fucking threats came from. People were yelling them through the fucking doors. Oh, by the way, Kohlberg, the fucking Idaho murderer, gets threats through the air vents all the fucking time. And there are a bunch of people that want to carry it out because they got daughters about the age of the girls he killed and the boy that he killed. So that's a serious threat. They're not moving his dumb ass. As a matter of fact, they put him in solitary to keep him away from these assholes. Instead, they put her in a fucking, like, basically in an area, again, a minimum security prison is easier to get out of than a maximum security prison, obviously. It's also easier to get into and then out of if you needed to, I don't know.
Look, initially she had asked that the Oversight Committee grant immunity, and when we met with the survivors of Epstein, it was pretty clear, according
we wouldn't be able to get away with that
to the survivors, and you know, we had 20 some members in that meeting, that Maxwell was a very bad person, and
well said. Easy there.
She committed a lot of crimes, and
just it's the volume that's bad, not the depth of it, what she did, and who was around a lot when she did it, like your buddy Donald.
And it was the intent, in my opinion, when we left that meeting in a bipartisan manner, that we...
This is, yes, in a bipartisan manner. This is like when Lutnick said his wife and he decided he would never hang out with Epstein again, when it was really his wife going, "You're not going back there without me."
Would not grant immunity. Now, what she said today, she's asked for clemency from the president. So, I personally,
I have the right to do it. I can do it if I want to. And if we want to get this information, probably be the best thing I could do. And she's got a promise. Now, after I've signed the clemency form, if she goes back on it, we can't actually put her back in jail. So, oops.
Reasons you just stated, don't think she should be granted any type of immunity or clemencies. But we'll obviously, you know.
Also, who the living shit thinks that she's going to get clemency from somebody she would have to name to achieve said clemency?
As more documents are read and understood, then we'll go from there. But I'll close with this. I think it's great that the Department of Justice is letting members of Congress come in and look at all the unredacted versions of the documents.
Yeah, he and Lindsey Graham are headed over there with some lube in a little while.
Attorney General Bondi is doing what she was supposed to do.
What she's been forced to do.
Via our subpoena.
Right, because she volunteered. Get the fuck out of here.
On the House Oversight Committee, as well as the Epstein Transparency Act. So I think
You mean she's, as the AG, she's following the law that she's been forced to follow, even though she pretended that she was going to do what the content of the law asks for fucking years?
We're finally going to get some answers and hopefully.
Here's a good idea. Maybe don't put anybody that either knows Epstein or is from fucking Florida in charge of the Department of Justice and for the next decade.
At the end of the day, we can do what our objective is in this hearing, provide justice for the survivors. So thank
Yeah, I'll believe that when you subpoena Donald John Trump Sr. They're gonna be like, we're subpoenaing Donald Trump. Who? Oh, Junior. He's gonna come in and kind of talk about his hunting trips. Fuck you. What a bunch of garbage. Oh my God. And by the way, I want you to know that that's not lost on any of the MAGA-tree. There's so much here. Oh, let's see, which do we jump to first? Well, I've got Jamie Raskin talking about after he viewed the unredacted Epstein files. Let's go to that first so we have context in on Earth One. This one right here.
Hello, everybody. I've just gotten back from this Department of Justice satellite office, a seemingly otherwise desolate facility where they've set up some offices and some computers for us to go and review the Epstein files. I think there were 4 computers in the room that I was in. I was at one of the computers. Now, we're there because the members of the Judiciary Committee are very concerned because
there are people coming into the Capitol right now that are carrying guns, apparently, and setting off the hand wands.
The most emphatic provision in the Epstein Files Transparency Act was that none of the survivors' privacy be compromised in any way. And we wanted to make sure that their name.
Also, I think a bigger one, because I think that should be obvious that you shouldn't release the victims' names. It's that you have to explain why you're redacting anybody who isn't a victim. You see, with the
would be redacted, and all personal identifying information would be redacted. But there are hundreds and hundreds of pages in the Epstein files that were recently released where identifying information about victims is right there, including people's names. So that was a dramatic departure from the demands of the statute. But then conversely, we didn't want to see any redactions of the names of co-conspirators, accomplices, enablers, abusers, rapists, simply to spare them potential embarrassment, political sensitivity, or disgrace of some kind. And yet, nonetheless, the Epstein file documents that were released are filled with redactions of names and information about people who clearly are not victims and may fall into that other category. So I went over there and I was able to determine, at least I believe, that there were tons of completely unnecessary redactions in addition to the failure to redact the names of victims, and so that's troubling to us.
Did you see the names of any potential co-conspirators that were redacted?
Well, I saw the names of lots of people who were redacted for mysterious or baffling or inscrutable reasons.
Are any of them well-known individuals?
Yes.
For example, Mr. Wexner, his name was redacted from a government document, and I couldn't understand the logic of that. He was not a victim, and his name has appeared
quite the opposite, actually.
Other places. Now, the Department of Justice has not sent forth its so-called privilege log, so it's not explained yet why there might be certain redactions that have been made.
Yeah, so they're using, the DOJ is using the ongoing investigation thing to keep these off, and he is living up to that nature of the law, so he can't violate it either. that if there's an ongoing investigation or any of that kind of stuff. So the DOJ has to give a reason why these things are redacted. So until they do, his hands are kind of tied by the law as to what he can say. Now, because Wexner was, obviously in other documents and wasn't redacted, he can draw attention to that. I'm sure there are a couple more of those people. The big ones are going to be when they get when they get the DOJ documents that say this is why we redacted this, because it's an ongoing investigation or this. They did not include that with this disclosure today. That is an intentional move by the DOJ to make it so members of Congress can see stuff but not say stuff. Just to clarify.
I saw one document which was an email that was sent by Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, which was the forward of an email that he had received from some of his lawyers, giving an account of a conversation between Epstein lawyers and Trump lawyers and others about what had taken place during that 2009 period. It was during the period of the 2009 investigation. And
So Todd Blanche, when he was working for Trump, or any number of like the fucking legal Barbies that he has running around back then, from Christina Bobb to whomever.
Epstein's lawyers synopsized and quoted Trump as saying that that Jeffrey Epstein was not a member of his club at Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and he had never been asked to leave. And that was redacted for...
Gee, I wonder why. It could be that plausible deniability, and yet he doesn't want to piss off his buddy because he might lose out on a piece of ass. The next Melania, whoever's in the Pez dispenser of trafficked and broken women that they send his way, or / Russian handlers.
Indeterminate, inscrutable reason. I know it seems to be at odds with some things that President Trump has been saying recently about how he had kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club or asked him to leave, and this was at least one report that appears to contradict it.
What did you see specific to President Trump or President Clinton, and were there specific redactions to them?
Well, I just gave an example of one redaction related to President Trump. I did not see any redactions related to President Clinton.
What was
I mean, remember,
gun on this?
Well, I don't. Here's the thing: the Department of Justice is under orders from Congress to release the entire Epstein file. They released 3.5 million documents, and they've withheld 3 million documents.
No, they've released 3.5 million pages and images as singular pages against 6 million documents. It's an easy mistake to make, and everyone keeps making it.
So about half of all the documents have not been released yet. Of the 3.5 million documents that have been released, I probably had the opportunity to review maybe 30 or 40 of them. Okay, so this is going to be an extremely time-consuming and painstaking process. Do
you want me to supply you with a list of shit to look at? Hey, everybody, we've got a new job. And this is to help. I'm not faulting him for this. People need to, whoever's combing through the Epstein files, or you see stuff that's hinky or whatever, log the number and tweet it or blue sky it to Jamie Raskin or any of the Democrats that are going to go look at the stuff. Because this isn't the only day he's going looking. They don't get one day to peek at 3 million documents and then fuck off. It's an ongoing thing. They can go there regularly. I would argue that they should stay camped out there, or members of their staff that have the same clearance that they have should go over there with a list of stuff to look at. That would be a good idea. Because otherwise they're just looking for a needle in a needle stack.
Attorney General and the Department of Justice have said that this process was something that was completed by them back in July. These materials could have been released long ago, but they're just being released now. And if every member of Congress who voted for the discharge petition, if all 217 of us spent every waking hour over at the Department of Justice, it would still take us months to get through all of those documents. And there are only 4 computers now, so they would certainly need to get a couple hundred more computers for all of the members. But the point is that there is no way before Attorney General Bondi arrives on Wednesday that we're going to have the opportunity to go through every redaction in order to ask.
Agreed. So they should go for the big flagged obvious ones, just the bulls in the china shop. And I think their staff can't go in, just Congress. Thank you, Marianne. I think they should. I think you should be able to bring staffers in there who are, because they have the same clearance. There's no reason why not. I mean, if you're discussing everything in your office with your staff and they have that clearance, I mean, it might just be your chief of staff, for example, or somebody like that. Pull and assign somebody like that, or move in shifts. But either way, members of Congress, if it's just them and there's just 4 computers, they should come in with a specific list. Well, I'll play Massey as well.
Thorough question.
Do you think that's the connection, that they held up releasing this so that everybody wouldn't be as thoroughly prepared for her testimony?
CSL, I don't know if you found that Massey speaking. I think I saw it, but I'm sorry if I blitzed past it. Of Massey speaking about after coming out, or anybody else that came out after seeing the stuff.
No, I think that the Department of Justice has been in a cover-up mode for many months. And
years, sorry. I mean, we get to include the time of Bill Barr, right?
Has been trying to sweep the entire thing under the rug. And the more deeply that I get into it, because obviously our colleagues on the Oversight Committee have taken the lead, but judiciary plays a very important role because we oversee the Department of Justice. But the more that I've gotten into it, the more I believe that the survivors here, the victims who are now active citizens for justice, really are leading the way. And we need to be having hearings with the survivors to hear from them about their experiences so they can explain what happened and so they can begin to set forth a theory of what took place. We need to be investigating the money. We need to be investigating the organizational hierarchy. There's no way you run $1 billion international child sex trafficking ring with just 2 people committing crimes, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. No way. It doesn't work like that. So we need to figure.
By the way, I can tell from his demeanor, and this is just my personal opinion. I'm not a body language expert, but I pay attention. That I can tell he is. They caught him as he's on his way back into, I guess, the congressional area or back to his offices. That he's in. He knows he's going to have to talk to the press, but he's on his way back there to discuss exactly what next steps are with his staff so they can push ahead with this shit. You can tell he's like, okay, I can't tell everything I want to tell, but we got to work this shit out. We're going to go do basically what I said, which is get me a fucking hit list, and I'm going to go back tomorrow morning and spend 3 hours there and bring back the stuff with me. Or send another member of Congress in his place.
What other conspiracies were involved? What other co-conspirators were involved? And I really do believe that listening to the survivors is going to be our pathway through this nightmare.
To drill down on the next step for Democrats to take? You say there are obviously millions of documents, 4 computers. What is the next step?
And they cut off of that part of it. Okay, hold on. This is it. Here's Kana and... Yeah, this is Ro Khanna and Massey. Hold on, let me get... Wait, I'll spade ahead.
I heard a Jack from Columbia last time.
That's the one. Wearing cardigan. That long.
Well, that was an interesting experience.
It was.
The user interface is a little clunky at first.
You think?
But what I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files. So that's the first thing that I saw. It took some digging to find them. Then I'll let you talk about what you saw.
Well, and we discussed that. I mean, there are 6 men, some of them with their photographs that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted. And Thomas discovered it through his MIT logic with some of the searches. But, you know, that's really concerning. I think there are 2 other points. One is some of the internet concern about some of the more sensational emails. I mean, I do think it's important to recognize that some of the senders on that are women, and so some of the redactions may be appropriate, some may not be appropriate. We need to look at that. But just because there's an email out there, it doesn't mean that there's necessarily an improper redaction. The bigger concern is these 6 individuals. I will say that the staff was very professional in allowing us to do the searches. Our bigger concern is that there's still a lot that's redacted, even in what we're seeing.
Wait. They're supposed to see the completely unredacted stuff. That was the whole point of this. They're still looking through redacted documents?
We're seeing...
By the way, this is Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky, and this is Ro Khanna, Democrat, and both of these guys are the main authors of the Epstein Transparency Act and are behind all of this stuff.
Redacted versions. I thought we were supposed to see the unredacted versions.
Yeah, so did we.
And that's because the documents produced to justice from the FBI, from the grand jury, was redacted when they got it. So we kept doing the searches for the unredacted information. It's the identical redactions that they have. Now, I don't think that's nefarious on the career attorneys that were reviewing it, but they obviously haven't gotten the production because our law says that the FBI and the original grand jury needs to be unredacted.
Right. The U.S. attorneys and the FBI are compelled, as well as the DOJ, and the DOJ was responsible for this document production, and they
are breaking the law.
Just produced documents that have been given to them from the FBI, the 302 forms, for instance, which need to be unredacted. There was one other thing that definitely needs to be addressed. Some of these files have been taken down, like the DOJ produced them, and for some reason they took them down. Maybe.
What reason could that be? Could it have something to do with a line of stakes, airplanes, a possible purchase of a football team, and a failed casino? Back in some dude related to those?
They decided that victims' names were in there and that they needed further redactions. But those documents not only haven't been put back up on the site with the appropriate redactions, they were not available to us to search.
So they've been removed entirely. So we'll just assume that they are direct descriptions of criminal acts by Donald Trump against underage girls until we are proven wrong. How about that? I'm assuming every redaction is either Trump or one of Trump's best friends. There is no reason for him to protect anybody else unless they have dirt on him. I would say the only reason there would be somebody that isn't on Trump's good side in the files that is also redacted is because they have dirt or they were a witness. And if they start squealing, so will everybody else.
As far as I could tell, we couldn't search the documents that had been taken off the internet.
Can you share with us the name of the 6 men that you identified?
I probably should do that from the floor or in a committee hearing.
And look, they should be releasing these documents. We have many avenues where we can compel that legally. Maybe they've done it out of oversight. I don't know. I don't believe that. But, you know, they should be releasing those documents, and our hope is to get them to do that. And then in some of the redactions, they need to be very careful on whether that was a survivor or not. Just because, for example, someone is female doesn't necessarily mean they're survivors. And it seemed like they blanked.
Yeah, like Leslie Groff and Kellen, I think is her name. And yeah, like the 4 or 5 women that helped his pilot.
Get redacted anyone who was a female from my review.
Yeah, I would like to give the DOJ a chance to say they made a mistake and over-redacted and let them unredact those men's names. That would probably be the...
Should be a great news cycle. He's right.
Best way to do it.
So how much of the redactions, you said that there are a lot of, the documents, some of what you saw in there had redactions. How much new information then did you see that was unredacted, or did it look pretty similar to what we've seen publicly?
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published. We're not out to embarrass people, and the problem is we went in there hoping to see that in 302 forms. What we found out is those 302 forms were redacted.
Right. So the men's names they saw were probably in emails or in other forms, but not in the actual 302s. They had redacted them in the 302s. And so they want to unredact them in the 302 so they can check and make sure that they're not talking out of their ass, because these guys are rich and litigious and in some cases dangerous, I suppose.
Before they got to the DOJ. So
that's me being charitable, did this.
But our legislation directs the FBI, which is the agency that produced those 302 forms, to also produce these documents. The Attorney General is ultimately responsible for that production, so that's why we're here at the DOJ to view these files. But there needs to be more information given in those 302s. So I was disappointed we didn't find that. But it's also clear, just sort of as a checking their homework, that they need to do a little more homework. There are 6 men. We went in there for 2 hours. There's millions of files, right? And in a couple of hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted, who are implicated in the way that the files are presened.
Activism, my question is, what's your message to Pam Bondi after what you saw today?
Need to do a little more work. And I would like, we'll see her at the Judiciary Committee here in a couple days.
At the very least, these 6 men, maybe she can make public. We're happy to provide the information to them, and they should do that. Look, there's some of the effort.
They're going to drop these 6 names Thursday on Pam Bondi. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll see.
Because there were a lot of career attorneys on there. There's some redactions that were appropriate, some, for protect the survivors. And some of the most sensational things out on the internet, there may have been appropriate redactions. So, for Thomas and me, it's always been about the facts. And our biggest concern is what was redacted before it even came to the Justice Department. The reality is that the most important things, the 302 files and some of the information on the prosecution memos, it's unclear that those redactions happened here. We saw a lot of files that already were redacted.
Right. So this is also an issue. This is where Pam Bondi is getting away with a lot of her plausible deniability and bullshitting, is she's showing, I haven't seen anything. Well, okay, the reason she hasn't seen anything is because she has not requested officially the unredacted documents she's supposed to have. She was lying this whole time, and she's continuing to lie. But she's got a plausible lie in that she could say, I haven't seen any of these men's names. That's because they were redacted early in the files before they got to her, and they just left them that way. And then anything that was redacted in those documents, they used as a template. Anytime those names showed up someplace else, then you could redact those as well. How they know that those are the names is anybody's guess. My guess is they fucking just know. But if that makes sense to anybody, that they can take the redactions that were in there, the assumptions that they know, and go, okay, Les Wexner's name was taken out of this one document, so we should take him out of everything else. So they redacted these names because somebody else redacted them in the early process.
And then, of course, they have been protecting some of these men. Maybe it was not intentionally, but the law is
it was intentional.
Very clear. They need to comply with the law.
And finally, the documents that they put up and decided for one reason or another they had to take back down, I was hoping to see those here. They didn't appear to be in the database that we were able to search. Those ostensibly are wholly redacted files now. We know they exist. They published them for a brief period of time and pulled them back. They need to answer to us as to, do they intend to redact those files and put them back up and put them in the database so that we can search them and see if it was appropriate to take them back down from the website.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen, at least one is a foreigner, and the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
In which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government.
And some.
Andrew? He's not anymore.
One of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting are redacted in the first place. And until that becomes...
Gia, could that possibly... I'm just spitballing here. Rokana, both these guys, bright guys. But I'm going to go with, because when this process happened last time, when the redactions occurred initially on these documents, Donald Trump was fucking president and Bill Barr was in charge of the DOJ. That's why. Obviously. This is who was there during the initial redaction. Then you've also got on top of that those redacted files, when that happened, were being used in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and some other things, and the Biden administration stiff-armed themselves from it because it was in process. And so once those files got opened up, I guess last January, or January last, like 2 years ago, that she could file her appeals and that kind of stuff, so they had to hold them for a period of time longer. But in that process, the Biden DOJ would only be seeing the redacted stuff if they bothered to look at all, because, again, if Ghislaine Maxwell was able to claim, selective prosecution, which is what she's going for with her habeas petition, she might have gotten out of jail because there wasn't a law like the Epstein Transparency Act.
Unredacted. The main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review. I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law, get to the question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around? And after seeing this, I don't blame the U.S. attorneys, the assistant U.S. attorneys reviewing it. If they're reviewing redacted material, what are they supposed to do? But they're getting, it seems like, material that's already been redacted.
Right, and Pam Bondi is counting on that.
Congressman Raskin also viewed these materials earlier, and he said that he saw President Trump's name redacted, he saw Lee Wexner's name redacted. Did you see President Trump's name redacted, Lee Wexner's name redacted? Can you share anything about that?
I didn't put Donald Trump in the search engine, so I couldn't tell you.
What a shock.
Why not?
Why not's a good question, and they're not answering it. I think basically they're smoking Trump out.
I did, and that was a woman that wrote that. And so it may be proper to redact it, and it may not be. I don't know. It seems like part of their algorithm for redaction was just to redact every woman in there, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we can't parse if the person who sent that was a victim or not.
Well, none of this is designed to be a witch hunt. If just because someone may be in the files doesn't mean that they're guilty. But there are very powerful people who raped these underage girls. It wasn't just Epstein and Maxwell, or showed up to the island, or showed up to the ranch, or showed up to the home knowing underage girls were being paraded around, and some of the sickening stuff in there about the violence. And what we want to do is have the investigation to get to those people, to answer those questions. Not to say that every internet rumor about some email is going to be true. And like I said, in some of the cases, the redactions may have been appropriate. But for Thomas and me, it's never been about getting Donald Trump or getting Bill Clinton or scoring political points or trying to destroy people's reputations. It's about actually getting justice for these survivors.
Do either of you plan to read the 6 names on the House floor?
I think we need to give the DOJ a chance to go back through and correct their mistakes.
How long do they have to do that? How long do they have to redact these files?
They're already breaking the law. Look, they're way past the deadline. And the reason they gave for taking so much time is so they wouldn't release victims' information. But in fact, they've released all kinds of victims' information.
Yeah, because it would really be beneficial to Donald Trump if a bunch of those girls went missing.
So the problem here is not the deadline. The problem is...
It's witness intimidation. That's what that is. Accidentally on purpose releasing these, but managing to redact the criminal names involved is not an accident, in my estimation. My belief here is that the reason why the DOJ released some victims' information is to scare the fuck out of them. It's not going to work. I think, sadly, Virginia Giuffre is the last of the victims that is going to take their own life or hopefully be physically harmed in any way in this process, as long as they stay safe. But the goal is very clear. We're going to hide the men, and we're going to release your information. So if they or some maggot with a fucking torch decides to find you and get rid of you so that you don't wreck Trump's legacy or whatever the fuck, That's what they're supposed to be scared of. This is supposed to terrify the victims. I don't believe it was an accident, not redacting their names and their information.
They need to go back. They need to themselves check their own homework or have somebody else check it. And as Rose said, they need to go to the U.S. attorneys and the FBI, who are compelled by the legislation directly to produce that material to them unredacted.
And I think, look, we could have brought contempt or impeachment weeks ago, but our interest is in actually getting the information out. And as a result of the strategy we've been pursuing, this is the largest release of the Epstein files in history. Now, it's not enough, but it has exposed people in the highest levels in technology, in finance, in real estate. It has exposed the establishment and monarchies in other countries. So our push is, how do we expose this and have accountability, not how do we score political points or have retribution.
Pam Bondi, what questions are you going to ask Pam Bondi this week?
Well, he's on the committee.
We'll see Wednesday.
You said a lot of the redactions were already made before the files were in the hands of career attorneys. Who do you suspect would make those redactions?
It seems that they were made by the FBI or they were made by attorneys in the grand jury, but they
or by Bill Barr.
The Justice Department, it seems, got some of these documents already redacted. Our law was very clear. Unless something was classified, it required it to be unredacted, and they have not complied with that law. And that law needs to be complied with, because that's where a lot of the information is, especially about the powerful people in this country and what their involvement was. And, you know, their involvement could have been that they were showing up at this island knowing that there was pedophilia taking place. Their involvement could have been that they were actually engaged in raping underage girls, or knowing that underage girls were being raped. We won't know until we see those files.
What information did you see that led you to believe that those 6 men were implicated in Epstein's crimes?
It's a list of 20. You can actually, I'll direct you to the unredacted, or the redacted file. It's a list of 20 individuals. 3 or 4, Maxwell and Epstein are on the list, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. And everybody else is redacted. And their names are redacted, but it also includes 20 pictures, 20 photographs. And they're sort of mugshots. They're not the best pictures. I'm not sure if they were mugshots or not. But there are at least 3 or 4 males in the photographs. I couldn't verify by looking at their names because they have foreign names. I couldn't verify by looking at their names that they were male until I went and looked at the photographs. By the way, in the document I'm directing you to, the photographs are redacted, and their
By the way, Ehud Barak is male. Just saying.
Names are redacted. There is no reason in our legislation that allows them to redact the names of those men, as far as I can tell.
Unless there are any male survivors, which seems hard to believe given this issue. But and all the women that are redacted, it's unclear if they were just actual survivors, in which case they did the appropriate thing, or whether they just, as Thomas said, had an algorithm to take out any woman's name.
There's also hold on a second. There's also an FBI form that lists people who are conspirators, and one of those is a male. It's like on an FBI form, they've redacted his picture and his name on that form, where they were, I guess, considering an indictment or indicting or something. I could also, I don't have the number in front of me, but I could direct you. It's a 3-page EFTA file.
The Justice Department has said it's letting you look.
Was this were
I'm not sure if they're mugshots.
Okay, were authorities investigating these individuals, or like?
In one instance, it was, and in the other instance, it seemed to be.
I've got to go. I'll let Thomas.
No, I got to go too.
All right.
One question, one last question for you, Congressman Kona. Congressman Massey has called for Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to face potentially some accountability for the connection that he has in these files. Do you support that call?
Absolutely. Look at what's happening in Britain. You have a left government. Actually, I know Keir Starmer. I was excited when he won, and yet I believe he needs to be held accountable with what's happened with Mendelssohn. You have the British monarchy having to answer questions. I mean, the King of England is putting out statements. And yet in our country, we have not had that reckoning. People in power, whether they're in government, whether they're in finance, whether they're in technology, if they have been implicated in the files in morally embarrassing ways and in ways that shock the conscience, should be held accountable. And it should be regardless of party.
So you're calling for Howard Lutnick to resign?
I believe that Lutnick, at the very least, needs to be brought before Congress. I think, based on the evidence, he should be out of the cabinet. But, you know, I mean, people say, oh, you're just a Democrat saying that. No, I mean, look at what he is, how much influence he had with Epstein, and he wasn't transparent about it. But again, it's not about Lutnick, and it's not
about lack of transparency, I would say. I appreciate these guys are both, I think, lawyers. Ro Khanna is, I'm pretty sure, they're talking like lawyers. Lutnick lied, blatantly lied. He lied about his relationship. He went on the attack and specifically lied. So fuck that dude.
About any particular person. In this country, we have to make a decision. Are we going to allow rich and powerful people who were friends and had no problem doing business and showing up with a pedophile who was raping underage girls? Are we just going to allow them to skate? Or like other countries, are we going to have elite accountability and have accountability for the people who did that? Most Americans believe we need accountability.
Can you confirm that President Trump wasn't on this list?
No, I didn't see him on that.
Okay, so that a little, I would say a little bit of a dud. I do understand that they're probably stacking some shit. I mean, it's not surprising that they would put out like Wexner, oops, hold on, details about him. Let's see. Let's see. Who else was there today besides those three? Let's see. Is this the same one? Yeah, okay, it's the same one of him. Yep, Ro Khanna and them. So it seems like those were the three that made statements, anyways, afterwards. Also, I think part of this is the story too, if I may. Everywhere you're, yeah. Like, let me show you this. This is, you'll see like logo, like you'll see thumbnails all over the place like this. Unredacted Epstein files. First day lawmakers allowed to view unredacted documents. Well, we now know that that is not true. That the DOJ is still having and using redacted documents that they are piggybacking on from other stuff, which they should have released the full version. And they're using that as a way to gum up the works. Specifically, I think to slow shit down before Pam Bondi has to testify on Wednesday, where she can plead dipshit, which is, by the way, completely believable.